Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple zippered lining for a circular crochet bag. Now my sewing skills are nowhere near my crochet skills, so if I can do this, you can too, I promise. To make this circular bag lining, you're going to need some fabric, a zipper, and some general sewing supplies, scissors, thread, pins, or clips of some sort. Let's look at the pins first. I'm going to be putting this lining inside a crochet bag. And when I'm working with yarn, I like to avoid standard sewing pins because the heads are too small and tend to go through the yarn stitches. So instead I like to use T-pins like this if I need pins, or these Clover Wonder Clips are fantastic as well at holding fabric and yarn together. So for this project, I'm going to be using these Clover Wonder Clips, but these T-pins are another great option. Now the zipper, you can actually get any size sort of between about 9 and 12 inches and it'll work fine for the bag. This one's a little bit bigger than 11 inches. It's close to 11 and a half. And zippers are always measured from the top of the teeth to the bottom of the teeth. So you're measuring the actual zip area, not this extra fabric on the ends. So anywhere from about 9 to 12 inches will work fine for the bag. Anything more than that's going to be too much, and anything less than that'll make a very small opening to put your hand in. Now, as far as fabric, you're going to need about a half a yard. You'll actually need a little bit less than that, but don't get a fat quarter. That will not be enough. The fat quarters are only about 22 inches wide, and you really need closer to 24 at a minimum. So get a half yard of fabric. If you're buying a remnant, if it's anything larger than, if it's like 18 inches by anything larger than 24 inches, you're probably going to be okay. But a half a yard is best to be safe. I'm using a remnant that's left over from a previous project that I did. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out the front and back pieces of our lining, which are the circular pieces. The crochet circles I'm using for my bag are about 11 inches in diameter. You want to make sure they're blocked nicely and as close to a perfect circle as possible. Adjust the edges if needed so that as you measure in different directions, you still get the same diameter each time. Once I have my shape all nice and stretched out, then I'm going to start tracing around it, and I'm going to leave about a ½ inch seam allowance on each side. So I'm going to go around and mark some points that are about a ½ inch from the edge all the way around. And then I'll draw a circle connecting those points. Okay, I've made several marks all the way around, and now I'm just going to connect the dots to form a circle. Now I'm going to cut around that line, and I'll be left with 2 circles for my front and back pieces. And there are my 2 circles. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I need to make this edge piece for the side. The edge piece is going to need to be the same width as our zipper tape, which in this case is about 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to cut 1 1/2 inches. If there's a little bit extra seam allowance on each side, that's okay. You want to make sure not to get a zipper that's too narrow, otherwise the side of your bag will be too narrow. If you want the side edge of your bag to be wider than the zipper, you can add additional strips of fabric along the sides, but I'm doing mine so that it's just exactly the same width as this zipper. Here's my strip, and I'm ready to attach the zipper to one end of this strip. So you want the zipper right side up, okay, and you want the fabric wrong side up. Now this one, again, doesn't really have a right or wrong side. To make this edge look really nice and neat, I'm going to fold over a little bit of the fabric, and I'm going to put it so that it overlaps the end of the zipper just slightly. So that way when the zipper's open, it can kind of tuck underneath that little flap of fabric and it'll look concealed and neater. So I'm going maybe like a 1/4 inch to a ½ inch. Like there's the end of my zipper. So that's about, yeah, ½ inch overlap over the edge there. Okay. And I'm going to pin that in place real quick with some of these clips. Get it nice and straight. You want to make sure it's lined up nice and straight. Pin it in place. So I'm going to tack this down here along the edge just so it stays for now. And then I'm going to sew a little more strongly down along the bottom here as well. So now one end of our zipper tape is attached to the side of our bag. Now it's time to attach the side edge to the front and back pieces. We're going to line up the edges of the zipper in circles so that the wrong side of the zipper is touching the right side of the fabric. This puts both the messy part of the seam and the wrong side of the fabric on the outside of the lining. When you open the zipper, you'll see the right side inside your bag. Start sewing at the zipper end. There's no need to pin this seam. Simply hold the pieces in place and sew slowly, adjusting every few stitches to keep it nice and even. In hindsight, I'd probably have had an easier time if I had left the strip and zipper on top instead of turning it all upside down when I sewed it. I cut my fabric strip shorter than what the pattern says, and as I got to the end, I realized it was a little too short. To add extra length, line up the second strip perpendicular to the first so that the corners meet. The overlapping sections form a square. Sew diagonally across this square so that when you unfold the seam, the strips will line up straight. Trim the excess and you can continue your original seam. As you come back around to the end of the zipper, fold the edge of your fabric strip over to make another small tab. The end should just overlap the end of the zipper. Sew in place to finish the seam. Now it's time to attach the other side piece. Once again, line up the edges so that the wrong side of the zipper is touching the right side of the fabric. This time it's important to use clips or pins so that the spacing is even. Now sew this seam in place all the way around. Be careful as you go that the fabric doesn't bunch up and cause puckers. Try to keep the zipper closed as much as possible, but it's okay to open it a little bit if it gets in your way at the end. And there we have our finished lining. Now once we finish crocheting the bag and assembling that, we can drop this lining in, and we're just going to attach it to the bag along the zipper edge so the rest of the lining will be free inside and you can pull it out and push it back in. And that's how you make a simple zippered lining for a circular bag. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.